In this video, I'm gonna share the 5 moments in my build career that changed the way I do everything. I'm gonna share the good, the bad, and the terrible. From getting screwed over by contractors, fraudulent buyers, construction mistakes, I'm gonna share what this ride has taught me so far and how it may help you. In each of these stories, I'm gonna tell you what happened, how it was resolved, and the lesson learned. Let's start with moment number 1. A massive mistake by a structural engineer that led to us winning a national award. So this is my first big time kitchen ever. I'm talking 150K kitchen, cream of the crop appliance package, amazing homeowner. He puts full trust in us, knowing that this is a little bit of a leap up, but he knows that we have the potential to handle it. We do the full demo, we're making tons of progress, everyone's happy. We get in there to do framing. And really, this whole kitchen is centered around a 30-foot span where we're taking out a load-bearing wall that's holding up the second story. So my engineer at the time, no longer my engineer, he specs an LVL, this massive wooden beam. It's 30 feet long. Specs it, writes a letter. We put in the exact beam that he specced out. And almost instantaneously, this beam starts sagging noticeably. So I'm like, holy crap, let's put a piece of wood under there, just like get with the engineer on this, make sure everything's okay. The engineer comes out, does calculations, writes us up a letter that we did it correctly and it's fine. It is not fine. Literally the upstairs, you look at the crown molding, there's nearly an inch gap in the second floor where this is sagging. We ended up getting another engineer, and of course he comes out and he's like, whoa, this is insanely undersized. For this span, you need a full steel I-beam. Holy shit, I've never done a steel beam in my life before. I go in, immediately pull out the wood one. We get the steel beam in the house. By the grace of God, it slides in the front door, under the stairs, out the back patio, and we're able to jimmy it into place. We get the steel beam in, jack everything up, boom, it's perfectly in place. This massive mistake I thought was gonna like end my career. He's gonna give me horrible reviews. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. It ends up being the cornerstone of this kitchen. We called it the Steel Beam Kitchen, and we went on to win #1 in the whole entire nation in this kitchen category for 150K. The moral of the story is, you can do everything right. I had an engineer. He told me it was all good, but you have to trust your gut. This freaking beam was sagging. It was not good. So what I learned from this is trust but verify. There's many professionals that you're going to work with. You need to check all of their facts. You need to hold them accountable. Payment is your biggest leverage. Do not ever pay ahead for work not done, or it will bite you in the ass. So we have a huge project, 6,000 square foot custom home. This particular instance is dealing with a flooring and tile contractor. One who I was actually pretty close friends with, and we've done multiple projects before. So what happened is, on this very large project, there was multiple technical installs that needed to happen. Some very, very large format tile, 5 feet wide by 10 feet tall. We are about 80% done with the job. This particular vendor asked for an advance of $25,000. The job was so big, and honestly, I liked the guy, or so I thought, and I gave him the advance. Anytime I have ever done this, I have regretted it. Just please learn from me here. I gave him the advance. Then get this, those tiles, they start breaking. Multiple of these huge tiles, they're exorbitantly expensive. Now we're questioning, can he really do this? He's saying, yes, I can, I got it covered. But now in the background, we're getting all of these shady ass change orders for like floating the floors for $9,000, $10,000, crazy amounts of money. And then it all came to a head when one day we had a small change order where we had to break out some wood flooring to redo a threshold on a door. The change order came in for $2,000. The work wasn't even done, and guess what? We found out that he poached one of our other guys to do this work on our own job site and charge us 10 times what it cost him. So he's literally stealing from me. So all of this comes to a head. I tell him, hey, you didn't realize this, but this is one of our guys that you poached. I know what he gets paid every day. You're screwing me. So what he does is he sends me an invoice for all the change orders. He says, pay all this up or I'm not coming on the job. That. I respond to all of this and we find out that he's $25,000 in the hole from what's been completed and what's left to do. And lo and behold, that's just the same magic number that I gave him on that advance. What did I tell you? We ended up having to fire him. It got into legalities. Ultimately, it just wasn't worth the fight. We let it go. We went our separate ways. We finished the project. It kicked ass. That's a $25,000 lesson that I learned. But guess what? From this point forward, I don't care if it's my freaking brother. I am not advancing anyone on work that has not been completed. If the work has been done, I'll pay you $1 million if that's what it costs. But do not ever advance that money, because guess what? You lose all your leverage, and 99% of the time, it's gonna bite you in the ass. Okay, so it's my first big remodel. I thought it was big at the time. It was about a $300K full remodel and restoration of a 1940s home. Now, we'd done some restoration projects before. We'd worked on many older homes, but this had multiple complications. We were leaving all the shiplap on the walls. And if you don't know what that is, back in the day, in the early 1900s, 1800s, before they were using drywall, they put wood on their walls and it laps together and it's called shiplap. So all the original shiplap had to stay. Why this is important is because I could not see what was behind the walls. So there had been an electrician who I'd used on many other smaller jobs. Squirrely guy, but always got the job done. Now, this guy was rough around the edges like many trades can be. But on this project in particular, they were coming at odd hours of the night. They were sporadic, they were hectic. There was so many red flags, but I was like, you know what? He's done work for me before. Let's let them just finish it out. Painstakingly, they finish this project. All of our boxes are in, all of our outlets are in. We pass all of our inspections because the electric inspectors, again, they couldn't see what was behind the walls because all the shiplap was up. So then it comes to what's called a hot check. This is where we check all of the power in the house. What lights are coming on, what aren't. What outlets are working, what aren't. So lo and behold, nothing is working. I mean, there's a few lights that are working, but none of the outlets have power. I'm like, what the hell? And we're racking our brains. These guys have been so sketchy and sporadic, they're basically gone. I can't really get a hold of them. So I end up getting a new electrician to just come and diagnose the problem. The first thing he does is test an outlet. It doesn't work. He opens it up, pulls out the outlet. The outlet comes out with about 2 feet of wire behind it. I basically had a heart attack. What this means is that they didn't land any of those wires back to the main panel. They went in and they stuck all those outlets in knowing that I couldn't see behind the walls, and they just left that much wire behind and they basically just ditched on the job. What ended up happening is the new electrician that came, I ended up becoming super close with him, and he's the same electrician I use today. He got me out of a bind. It cost me about $10,000 Now, what I would do is if I get a contractor and I can tell that they're inadequate for the job, you fire them immediately on the spot. You pay them for what they've done, but you do not continue going down the wrong path. If I would have done that sooner, I would have saved myself some big bucks and wouldn't have had to learn this lesson the hard way. A potential career-ending construction mistake, or so I thought. My first huge remodel addition project, over $1 million. Everything is going great. We frame up this 4,000 square foot house. It used to be 2,000 square feet, multiple additions on the first and second story. Now, we're building these giant double-decker patios. There's a patio on the ground, and then about 20 feet in the air, there's a second patio. And then on top of that, there's also a cover. So, at the very most bottom level, this is a covered patio, so it is waterproofed on the top. On the plans, it said to slope this patio 1/4 inch per foot so that it could drain. The way that our soffits lined up, there was not enough space inside the subfloor for us to do floor drains. Lo and behold, when we build it, we find out that the truss company did not give us sloped trusses. They were all flat. And then my framers, they just put in those flat trusses and they didn't slope it. The whole thing was already built. We're talking about a triple-decker porch with a cover on the top. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, this is gonna cost me $50,000+ to pull all of this off and redo it. Luckily, we were still in the frame stage. None of the finished materials on the house were done. I literally thought this whole job was gonna come toppling down, my career was gonna end, and I was gonna fall into an everlasting pit forever and ever. But there is always a path forward. I got with my framers, we figured out that we could nothing is ever simple. Take out the posts on the bottom, put in temporary support posts, use jacks to lower this porch by 2 inches to get the slope that we needed. I remember them setting up for this and just thinking, my God, the things that can go wrong right now. It ended up taking about 4 hours time. We dropped that porch, everything still lined up correctly. We had all of our hangers on the trusses. Everything was great. And guess what? The world didn't end. We figured out the problem. It didn't cost me a ton of money, and we survived another day. The lesson here is that simply construction is a show. You always have to remember, this is why we pay for great insurance. Mistakes do happen. There's always a path forward. Worked with the correct professionals, engineers, framers, architects, whoever you have to, you can and will get yourself out of bad situations. I bet on myself in the biggest way possible with my most ambitious spec home, and it paid off greatly. The modern Victorian, a house that had never been done before. I'm taking two completely contrasting styles and mixing them together. And I'm not doing it for a client. I'm building this house as a spec to sell to someone that I don't even know yet. So honestly, just the concept itself, I got tons of opposition from so many different people saying this will never work, no one wants to buy this, it's too niche, you're building something way too unique when you want to appeal to the broader market. Screw that. I knew that I had everything it took, and I had built confidence within myself that had been tested by the market and different peers. Now, building this home is a different animal in itself. What I will say is it was equally terrifying as it was just incredible to be on site every day and see the progress of something. At the end of the day, build up your experience, hone your craft, and then go all in on yourself. I promise you, it will be worth it. Now, talking about the modern Victorian, we finished the house. It's a wild success. Everyone's loving it. We're in a rough time of the market. Interest rates just went up. We've already been on the market for a number of months. I'm holding strong on my price. And out of the woodworks, comes the savior of everything. The cash buyer that wants the house, no inspections, 2-week close. Everything seemed too good to be true. And it was. Ultimately, we had a completely fraudulent buyer. He gave us false documents. He led us on for absolutely no reason and no rhyme. Once the house went under contract, I made an announcement that the home went under contract, and everyone was like, this is amazing. Congratulations. The news picked up the story and said the home sold. Then that's when the checks bounced. Then that's when all the excuses came on why he couldn't move the money and blah, 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 blah. And then 2 weeks later, the close came. He no-showed. We never heard from him again. I did more research. I did a background check on the buyer. He had multiple infractions for hot checks, fraud, all of this kind of horrible stuff. I will tell you, in that moment, I felt like a complete failure. I felt like everything I'd done with the project was just out the window. But you know what? I gave that about a day. And then I said, screw this. I did everything right. And some jackass is going to come out of nowhere, a complete fraud, completely out of my hands. He's not going to ruin this for me. So you know what? We hung in there. We stayed on the market. We ended up selling it for a great profit. Everything ended up okay. The lesson here, do not spend the money till the check clears. Once you get all of your money, I'm saying don't even announce it until closing. Who knows what could happen in that period? We all get excited and we all want to look at people in an optimistic way and be like, you know what? Yeah, he put up all the money. Why would he not want to follow through with this? There's psychos out there. Just don't count your chickens before they hatch, or you risk looking like an idiot. I hope y'all can learn something from my successes, my failures, and everything in between. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you on the next one.